Hello, hello, hello. My painting is finished. Yay! It's nice. Yes. So, yeah, I want to show you how tall it is. It is quite tall, but not as tall as I am. I am taller. I am a head taller than my painting. So, it's very wonderful. It is a cardboard box actually that is flat and something, I don't know what was in it, some kind of tool for Paul. And what I do is what I always do with those. I tape them up with duct tape and I write my title and acrylic on cardboard. So the title of this painting is The Ego Dissolution Funnel. So, and the description is total deconstruction, dissolution, and recycling of the ego. Okay, so it has a double meaning because my artwork is also a recycling process. It's also actually not recycling in that sense, but reusing. So I always reuse and recycle in this way and reutilize any kind of packaging material, cardboards, that would normally go to the recycling facility, but sometimes I don't know if this always gets recycled or what they do with it. But we do recycle. We bring the stuff to the recycling. We have so much of that, of course. But yeah, some of the stuff I reutilize and make artwork with it. And so a little bit to this painting now. Okay, the idea started a couple of years ago. I was researching on people surviving in jungles because an airplane crashed, or disaster, terrible situations where people were really forced to deal with their own natural self, who they are, stripped away from high heels, makeup, commerce, their identity with religion, job, prestige, whatever it was. There was a woman, I don't know what she was prior to that incident, but there was a young woman that was, I think it was in 1920 or something, the only survivor in an airplane crash, I think somewhere in the Amazon rainforest. And she was lucky enough to survive, not just survive, but be completely unharmed from this. And she observed the animals, so was thrown completely onto herself now. And everything else became secondary. The stuff that we always dwell on all the time all became secondary, became not important at all anymore. Her clothes, her identity, her name, even, it didn't matter. She was a living being who survived in the Amazon rainforest, and she observed the animals. And I have to watch the time. and and so she knew what they were eating, so she was eating what the animals were eating, and she followed the river downstream, and she just walked every day for a couple of miles. And then after, I don't know, maybe a couple of months or so, she finally made it to a remote village, and she saw a fisherman and he helped her. So that's how she survived. And then there was another crash of an airplane. I don't know if you heard about this. That's a very dramatic one, where people actually were stranded in the Andes mountains way up during the winter time. The only way they survived is because they were able to the airplane was covered with snow, which gave an insulation, and there were a couple of survivors, and they ended up having to eat the dead people. So that's a very, very, all of these catastrophes, bring people really back down to ground zero, what really matters in life. What really matters is who you are, and it doesn't matter how you look like. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter what your education level is or your social standing. This is all bullshit, okay? What matters is that you are infinitely precious, that your body is infinitely precious. You're an infinitely precious living being, okay? And so I have been suicidal a lot in my life, I suffer with the animals. I suffer with a lot of things. My parents have treated me in a very neurotic way. It was psychoterror for me. I'm highly sensitive. I had to finally break off for my entire family. That's how bad it was. But I made it, I was finally able to break off, against the odds of having lots of compassion with them, and that got intermixed with some kind of dependency and some kind of, that's my family, that's how can I abandon my family. I've been pondering on this for many, many years, but my brother became an asshole. I feel sorry for him, because he got into drugs. Whatever causes people to become an asshole, that is something we should never tolerate, right? Never, ever, 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 ever. So at some point, but it has been coming already for years, okay, where I knew, okay, it's just a matter of time now when I feel strong enough to break up the bridges and say enough is enough. You go your way, you do your thing, you are where you are in your psychological development, and I am where I am in my psychological development. So okay, I'm an artist. I stand for what I like, for what I want. I want color, I want shape, I want to create, I want to morph things out of proportions. I like that. I like being chubby. I am not a conformist, okay, and I like that, and I encourage other people to do the same, Come back to ground zero. You don't have to have an airplane crashing and leaving you stranded in the Amazon rainforest. You can come back to ground zero the way you are right now. Jiddu Krishnamurti talks about this all the time. Why wait until a catastrophe happens? Why wait until, some outside circumstances sober us up, shake us up, like the pandemic, for example. This is me, in an abstract form, falling down from the sky into an abstract palm tree, and I'm hanging in the canopy of the palm tree. My shoes had fallen off, and this is really, these are just constantly thoughts going through my head. You know, I had a lot of horror thoughts, a lot of visualization that sometimes come to me. I have to watch the time. That sometimes come to me just forcefully. You know, I have thoughts that come to me without me inviting them. So it's just like a bunch of really, really fast associations that are going on. I've had that my entire life. Okay, so I also have a very, 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 very strong visualization ability of just visualizing shapes and forms. So I've always had that. I started painting when I was 2 years old. So, and this falling into the palm tree is basically, it is just a metaphor, you know, for me of, you know, when Jiddu Krishnamurti talks about death, it's like he's not talking about the actual death, you know, but when people die, they usually come to ground zero, you know. But he says we can also, the ego, and the word death is probably a little bit harsh, you know. The ego can dissolve, you know. This is the representation of the ego being able to dissolve while I'm alive and well. So, and that is also the process of this therapy process that I'm talking about. I want people to do this. I think artwork can help us dramatically with this, to accomplish this process of stripping away all of these social ideas. What I observe in people on the internet is, even though they don't admit it, but I see it anyway, I'm very intuitive with those kind of things. I see that most people, the vast majority of people on the internet, wherever I go, under any video, the comments, the chat conversations, I see that almost every human is hiding behind some kind of mask, behind many incognito masks, behind some kind of persona, something that they want to be, that they want to portray to the public because they think that gets them liked more. Okay, and I'm not judging them. This is a behavior out of fear, and I see that their brains are completely loaded, just completely loaded and cluttered up with what if in, you know, social scenarios that could go wrong, and oh, what if she thinks this of me, what if he will think this and talk about me like this, you know. So this is what goes through people's brains all the time, non-stop, and that causes mental illness, that causes the worst mental illness, that causes antisocial behavior, that causes terrible behavior, that causes people to snap, and misunderstandings and misinterpretation of other people's behavior and conversations. So always like something insinuated into someone else. That's what causes that. And they have no more space for anything else. So in a therapy program, artwork is an emphasis that I want to bring into it, that everyone must participate, whether they want it or not, whether they have this social fear or not, you know, whether they have this fear of not being perfect in their art expression. You cannot be unperfect in your art expression. You just express, and it will evolve, and you will start to like it. You will gain confidence in yourself, you know, and you don't even have to have confidence. art is love. It's an expression. It helps you to free your brain and to heal yourself from all of these emotional wounds. That's a very, very powerful thing to do. Okay, you guys take care.